Welcome to the Workforce Connections podcast, where we discuss workforce development in Southern Nevada. Here's your host.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the WC podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. I wanted to welcome Mike Rhea, Chief Revenue Officer of Intelligent Technical Solutions, ITS. Welcome, Mike.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I know you're here for a convention, right? What is the name?
I am, Channel Partners.
That's right. This happened we started talking about this yesterday, and here we are. Right?
Here we are.
Yeah.
You guys make things happen.
Right, good. Well, to get us started, we always ask our guests to tell us a little bit about themselves. So we've also just met. So start by telling us where you were born, where you grew up, where you went to school.
Yeah, so it's a cool story. I was born in Germany on an Army base. So my whole family is Army and military, literally everyone except me. So I was born in Germany, lived there till I was 2, moved to Virginia, Northern Virginia, and that's really where I grew up, D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, DMV.
Close to Prince George County?
So ironically, when my parents got divorced, I moved to Prince George's County, and that's where I finished high school. And that's really where like football and everything took off for me. But yeah, grew up in Virginia for the most part, spent some time in Maryland, specifically PG County. And then after playing a little bit of college football, came back to Virginia, and that's where I live today.
Yeah. So in college, again, you went to Virginia Tech, and you told me your story.
Yeah.
You thought you were going to be a hurricane, but you ended up in Virginia Tech.
Yep. Shout out to the U. So I had a lot of success in sports growing up. Probably the one that most people don't know about is I started doing martial arts when I was 6. So for 2 years during the time I was in kindergarten, because my dad was in the military, he got stationed in Korea. And so when he came back, I was right at that age, 6 years old, where I was into like Ninja Turtles and all that stuff. So he put me into martial arts. And so that's where I started from the age of 6 to 9. I did it. 9 years old, got my black belt. 11 years old, got my second degree black belt. Third degree black belt at 15.
Wow.
And so the cool part was I won a world championship in fighting it during that time. Got invited to fight for the U.S. Olympic team when I was 12. And I didn't take it. And here's a fun story. My mom was like, you're going to go there and get beat up like by grown men. I didn't realize that from 12 to 16 for 4 years I would train with the team and then go compete. So that was the one that got away.
Yeah. And
had a lot of success in football. In PG County, we won a state championship on the track team. So I just had a lot of success in sports. And then because of grades, I didn't see it through. And so that's how my college career ended.
So you didn't earn a major in
No, I don't have a degree.
But yeah, so I can't wait to get to that. I think you're an example. You don't necessarily need a college degree to be successful, which you obviously are very successful right now. When we talk about, remind me, because shout out to my friend Walter Simmons, who does what I do in Prince George County. And so I want to make sure that I connect you two via email today when you leave.
That'd be awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you started your professional career after you got done with the sports. You started in banking. So tell us a little bit about that and why you switched from banking to tech.
Yeah, so I got introduced to banking. I was actually working in retail at like an eyeglass store. And one of the coworkers there introduced me to a bank. And that's how I started my banking career. I started off as a teller, and I had a lot of good success there. I had this idea where as a teller, our goal was to refer checking accounts, right? Like every time somebody comes up, refer them to open another account. That's how the bank makes money. And so online banking was a thing. Online shopping was becoming a thing. This is right around 2007, 2008, right when the market crashed. And so I just had this idea, like, let me ask everyone who comes if they shop online. And if they say yes, then I will recommend they open up a separate checking account where they can do all their online purchases, have a separate debit card. And that way, if they would only transfer the money they needed, and that way there wouldn't be any fraud or whatever. Right? There would be no money in the account. And I was referring like 13 checking accounts a day. And so all of a sudden, like I was working for Citibank at the time. I go City Stars and all their presidents clubs, or whatever. Then I get in trouble because they're basically saying like, well, you're conning people into opening accounts. I was like, I thought this was a great idea, but apparently they only make money when there's money in the account. And so, but that's how I started in banking. And I went through a couple different banks, and it just got to a point where I knew I was making millions of dollars for the bank. And I was in retail banking, and I was making like a $400 quarterly bonus. And I was just like, something's not right here. Right? This bank is making all the money. And so I actually wanted to get out of banking and get out of sales. And so I was done. I was like, I'm done with sales. I just want like a job that's going to pay me a set salary and be done. And this headhunter had reached out to me and said, well, why don't you go meet with this one company? They were called iCore Networks. And I was like, look, I don't want to be in sales. Like, I'm over it. She said, well, just go interview. It doesn't hurt to have a conversation. And when I walked in, I saw all these young people wearing these nice suits. There was nice cars in the garage. They were all young. They're all happy. They're all getting after it. And I was like, whoa, this is what I want to be part of. Side story, the person who hired me at that company, I met yesterday at the event that I'm here to see. Wow. And it was pretty cool to see like how our careers have progressed. And so, I started off in technology, didn't know anything about anything, and I was just super hungry to learn. And so I would spend after hours, we would work from 8 to 6 every day. And from 6 o'clock onward, I'd try to spend time with the top reps, learning what they did, how they were successful. And then my career just took off from there. But that's how I made the transition. I didn't want to be in sales, so I took a sales role. Yeah.
And the little I've read about you, and again, touch base with Tom, you came with high credentials to ITS. The companies you were there before, you helped scale them up from companies that annual revenues in the tens of millions to hundreds of millions, dozens of employees to hundreds of employees. And so that's probably why, you caught Tom's eye. But the one thing that I really picked up and liked is that when you referenced Tom, you talk about you felt a genuine connection. Is that why you joined ITS, or is there more to it?
Yeah, so give a little background, right? Just the success that I've had in my career and how we got to this point was, so when I started at iCore, they were doing about $20 million in revenue a year. In 3 years, we got to $100 million. We sold to Vonage. Then I went to Exo Communications. They got acquired by Verizon. Then I went to a startup. We went from 0 to 10 million in contract revenue in 2 years. Then they sold to Comcast. They sold their clients to Comcast. And then I switched out of the telecom hosted voice space into IT, an MSP, managed IT services. And the company that I went to, they were 80 employees and about 18 million a year in revenue. And in 5 years, we took them from 18 million to 180 million in revenue, 80 employees to 800 employees. And so at that point, I was the VP of sales. I knew when we had done several acquisitions, 15 plus acquisitions, I'd seen the revenue grow. We went from being an owner-led sales type of a company to building out a sales force across the country. And I was like, I know what I'm doing now. I was ready for that next role. I was ready to be a C-level chief revenue officer. And I liked the company that I was at. I actually wasn't even looking to leave. But I was doing interviews every couple years, or I was doing multiple interviews a year, maybe 2 or 3, not because I was looking to leave. I wanted to hear the questions that they were asking me about what they were looking for in that next role. And once I knew that I could answer all the questions confidently, then I knew I was ready. And so I would just interview with companies almost as a way to practice what I was going to be in my next role. And so then when I was ready, I met with a bunch of companies, and it just never seemed like a good fit. And for me, if I'm going to walk away from something I'm having success in, I need to make sure it's the right move. And so that's where meeting Tom came in. ITS seemed like a great company. It seemed like, basically what they were trying to do, I'd already done. So it's kind of like, hey, knowing what I know now, what would I do different? I can do that here. But once I met Tom, it was like, who's our CEO, he and I connected, I think it was supposed to be a 30-minute conversation and went on for 2 hours. We just connected. And I realized this guy values my input, my perspective. He's not trying to he's not trying to control what I do in that role. He's looking for somebody to grow the company and work with him. And he allowed me to be me. And so the funny thing is, once I met him, I was like, this is too perfect. So I started looking for red flags with the company, because I was like, something has to be off. There's no way that this is the perfect match. And I felt like it was, and here we are.
Haven't found one yet.
I haven't found one yet, right?
Good.
People ask me, do I like my job? It's I might be borderline addicted to it. I love what I do.
That's
and
great.
It's not normal to say that, I don't think.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Now, explain to me what you mean when ITS says, that ITS wants to reframe what a client expects from that managed IT partner.
So that's a good question, right? So there's 40,000 managed IT partners in the country today. And if we're honest, we all do the same thing. We all sell the same services. We all sell the same tools, maybe different brands. So it's a lot of buyers don't know what they should expect from an IT company. They're like, hey, look, we have these issues. We want somebody to respond. We want somebody to help us. We want help desk support or service desk. And it's that was what an IT provider was years ago. Now, if you look at the evolution, there was a time when I was selling hosted voice. So companies would have a phone provider, a CRM, a platform that encompasses all their data, and then they'd have an IT company. Now, as the time went on, they expected their IT company to also provide the CRM, the phones, the internet, everything. Now they're looking for a cybersecurity company who can also do managed IT, phone. They want all in one. And so what buyers want or what clients want is evolving with the times, but not all IT companies are evolving with the times. So when I say we want to reframe what they think they should get, help desk support should be table stakes. That there's like, yes, that's important, but that's not, when you're paying us money, that doesn't give you the value that you need. What we should really be looking at is where's the business trying to go and what are the problems you're trying to solve? And buyers are really looking to buy an end result. And then we need to explain to them how our process gets them that end result. That's the difference. It's not like, oh yeah, we have people, we're 24/7, they'll answer your calls and they'll be super fast. Like, yeah, I expect that. But what else do you bring to the table? How can I use technology in today's world to get ahead, help my business progress? And if you're not having those conversations, then you're literally spending money for nothing, in my opinion. And so that's how we're trying to reframe is all that, you'll get everything that you need. But where are you trying to go? What is the problem you're trying to solve? What is the end result you're looking for? And let us walk you through how our process, that we actually have a defined process of how to get you there. We're not just winging it.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I love it. And I think that process might be what you mean by this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Then what's the difference between a proactive partner and a reactive vendor?
Yeah. I mean, look, most IT companies, every 3 years, people are looking to switch IT companies. The reason is, and number one and two reasons that we get is response time. We put in a ticket, we don't hear from somebody for a couple of days, or we don't hear from somebody for a week. Could you imagine, like, I need help, I reach out to you, Jaime, and I don't hear from you for a week, but I'm paying you, right?
Yeah.
That's a problem. Or, we have people that we're hiring, we have people that we're letting go, and we need that process done, right? Because if I start my first day at work and my stuff isn't ready, my first reaction, right, or my first impression of the company is they don't have their stuff together. They're not even organized to get my workstation going, right? Am I confident in that company? But those are the two biggest issues. Everyone thinks it's AI and cyber. No, those basic stuff are the issues. So what's a proactive partner? Somebody who understands where you're trying to go and looks at things before they happen. And a reactive vendor is one who's always trying to put out fires. They're always playing from behind. Sure, they may be great. They may be quick with it, but they're always playing reactive. And it's like with all the technology in place today and all the tools, you should be proactive. But if you haven't built a culture of how do we get ahead, then you're literally paying money for something that the same dollars could get you a better solution. I went to a doctor years ago, and he said a good doctor treats you when you're sick. A great doctor prevents you from getting sick. And I think that's the difference in a lot of IT companies. Like, not all IT companies are made the same. And I think when you're a proactive partner, you're addressing issues before they come up. And when you're a partner, you're also providing strategic guidance. Like, most companies don't understand IT. They understand their business. So when they're paying money to a partner, they want somebody to guide them, provide strategy, help them look at all the different angles, and then allow them to make the decision with the information they have on what's best for their business. Yeah. And most companies aren't doing that just because they don't have the resources. They're too busy putting out fires all day long.
I love the example of the physician. I think that's a really good one. So then how does ITS become an organization like mine's technology success partner?
So again, it's what does success mean to the buyer, right? And so here's how I look at it, right? When we're working with a potential buyer or customer, I'm always looking at, I keep it very simple. And we teach our sales force this also, is like, what is the problem that you're trying to solve? Or rather, do they have a problem we can solve? And then the second thing is, do they agree it's a problem? We had one client who, he had a problem. Like, he did not have any security in place. And we're like, dude, if you get hit with ransomware, it's going to crash your company. You have a problem that we can help you solve. The CEO says, look, if we get hit with ransomware, I'll just go to pen and paper. It's not a big deal. So they had a problem we can solve, but he didn't recognize it as a problem. I can't help you. Many people try to force him to buy and try to scare the crap out of him to buy something. I was like, he doesn't care. So let him do his thing, right? He's the CEO. He has to make that decision of what's a priority, what's not. So we want to identify, is there a problem that we can solve? Do you agree it's a problem? Are you committed to solving it? And what timeline are you looking to solve it in? And once we understand that, then we're looking at what is the end result that you want. And then we're going to walk you through how we're going to deliver that end result. We're not just going to say, hey, all these tools will get you there. A buyer wants to know exactly how are you going to get there? What are the steps you're going to take? That builds confidence, And so That's really what we're trying to do. That's how we become a success partner, is really looking at what does success look like for you? How can we use technology to get you there? And oh, by the way, yes, when your end users have a problem and they need a password reset, they can call us. We're going to manage your servers. But you expect all that. What you want to know is, in addition to that, what else are you going to provide? And that's the difference.
Very cool. So Workforce Connections here in Southern Nevada, along with my buddy Walter's Employee Prince George County organization, is two of almost 550 plus organizations that do this work across the nation of trying to connect employers to ready workers. And that's very difficult right now. The talent, pipeline is not plentiful. Yeah. And so there's a shortage. As we all know, employers across industries, small, medium, large, are having trouble finding the talent they need. And I've been watching ITS for a while. I think when I met Tom, it was roughly a $5 million company. And I think now it's approaching 30 or 40. And so 50 million.
Yeah.
And I know now that you're here, the sky's the limit probably.
Yeah, 5 billion. Let's go, right?
Yeah. And so how are you guys mitigating that issue of, as you grow as a company, not just here in Southern Nevada, but across the nation, you have teams. How are you mitigating that issue of the talent pipeline, the talent shortage?
It can be challenging, and the reason is when you have some of these labor shortages, there's fewer people available. You're trying to bring in the right talent. The problem is when you bring in the right talent, they want more money. They know they're skilled. They have more certifications. So in order to bring them on board, you got to pay them more. But where does that money come from? Then you got to charge the client. The clients don't want to increase the rate. Like, we don't want to pay more because you wanted to hire this guy. Go find, right? And it's just this cat and mouse game. And what happens is when people become more expensive, then you have to bill your clients so that you can justify that cost. And then you have to try to explain the value. And so some of that has been challenging. I think a lot of tech companies now are exploring, outsourcing international. And we have a good number of employees that are international. And to be quite honest, my initial perception of that was like a negative one. And I'd asked Tom about that. Like, are we sure this is the right move? Now I've met with our employees that are international. Many of them are on my team. They're phenomenal. Like, they work their butt off, right? They're phenomenal. So I love that model. But that is now something that more companies are exploring because of, some of the labor shortages. I also think because of these shortages, AI has really taken off, right? Now people are looking at, how can I automate things more? And then where can I use AI? And automation and AI are two different things that typically get joined together. But where can I use AI to be more efficient so I can get more done in a less amount of time? And then where can I use automation so that really, for us, we can focus more time on in-person helping the buyer instead of IT-related tasks. And so if somebody's looking for a job, or I'll give you a good example when it comes to AI. If I say to you, Jaime, look, I met this person, I interviewed them, and I asked them, hey, I need you to use Google to search things. And they say, I don't know how to use Google. You smiled, right? We would literally think you're incompetent.
Yeah.
2-3 years from now, if you say that in an interview about AI, that's what people are going to think. If you don't know how to use AI and the tools AI has to do your job better, people are going to think you're incompetent. Because today you can use AI to get things done.
Lots of things,
almost better than you could do it yourself, right? And so people just should start looking at that because that's going to add value to the market. And then when you're interviewing, you should talk about that. These are some of the tools that I use to do more in less time, because that's what companies want, right?
Yeah.
They want more ROI.
No, and that's true. AI has the potential to transform, how we work, and we're just seeing the beginning of it now. A lot of it is still asperous and rough and not perfect, but it's only going to get better. So I think you're absolutely right. So we've talked a lot about work, and I've been waiting for this piece because I just, by doing a little research on you, I know that you're a dedicated father and husband. Yeah. And so I found this photo. I want you to tell me more about it. And we're going to put it on the screen so that people can see it as well. Tell me about that.
So I've been married 10 years as of today, 10 years from November. My wife and I have always wanted to travel, and I've just worked, and she got it. And so for her birthday's on Valentine's Day. And so this year, for her birthday, we went to Cabo. And so this picture was taken on her birthday, which was Valentine's Day in Cabo. And
but that's a production. Tell me more about how you,
I mean, it was pretty cool. Look, this is funny because I'm going to sound like husband of the year, totally unintentional. I didn't plan it, but it worked out that way. So we're like, hey, let's just go to Cabo. Like, let's just hang out on the beach, just us, and just relax. So our plan was literally to spend every day just on the beach. And while we're there, you know, the way that it's set up, that people have these horses on the beach. And I was like, oh, this would be so cool. Like, let's ride a horse on the beach, right? So we did that. Well, while we did that, I had coordinated with the front desk to set up our room with like a bunch of rose petals and balloons and happy birthday stuff. So when we came back to the room, she was surprised. So then for dinner, this was dinner. We had coordinated dinner on the beach. So we had this little setup here. We took a picture, had appetizers here, and then we went on to the beach and had dinner on the beach. And then coincidentally, they had a fireworks show. So in her mind, I set up a fireworks show. I set up this cool little coffee maker dude. It was awesome. And then like the next day we rode camels on the beach, ATVs. So she thought I did it big. All of this, I just planned one by one while I was there because I saw that they were available.
Organically, it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out in my favor. So
you must get that award, I'm sure.
I have to.
Yeah.
After 10 years, I should have done it right.
That's awesome. The other things we see in there is also, and it meant a lot to me, because I used to do it. There's pictures in there of your daddy-daughter dance, you know, and you were dipping her. And tell us a little bit about that.
So my daughter is 8 years old. It was the first daddy-daughter dance that she's had in her life. And she was super excited, right? Like, Dad, I want to go. It's a Barbie theme. So she went dressed as Barbie. I had to dress up as Ken. And I looked nothing like Ken in the movie. So, but yeah, we danced, we had a good time. And it was a special moment, right? I did the little dip with her, kissed her on the cheek, and it was a good time. But my daughter's like my best friend. She's my little partner and everything. We do everything together.
You spend a lot of time in her gymnastic events too.
Yeah. So she does gymnastics. She got asked to try out for the junior Olympic team, but she just, she wants to be athletic. And it's funny, kids watch what you do. And so when she sees me working out, she wants to come out and work out. And then she gets all her friends in the neighborhood to come work out with me. And, she just wants to do whatever I'm doing. It's just, there's nothing like a father and a daughter's love,
Including being an entrepreneur, because I also saw a picture of her reading Boost Your Business. Right?
Yeah, Jumpstart Your Business. So she says when she grows up, she wants to be in business with me. Wow. And so if people ask, like, what's my future look like? Looks like I got to open a business with my daughter.
Yeah, build something good. Yeah, that's awesome. And then your boy is a little older, but you spend a lot of time on the soccer fields with him.
Yeah,
tell us about that.
He's 13 right now. He plays travel soccer, and he's also on his school soccer team. And so if I'm not working, we're usually like at the soccer field for practice or for games. My dad, when I was growing up, never missed a football game or any sports, martial arts tournament, nothing. My dad was at everything. And so, you see that growing up, and I know how much it meant to me. I remember looking in the stands in PG County, and I see my dad always at the top of the bleachers, right in the middle. And so I would always see him there, and it gives you that sense of security. And my son has the same thing. He's like, I just like when you guys are there, I play better. And so for me, it's a non-negotiable, like work has to come second to me being there for him, because there's a finite amount of time that I have. He's 13. 5 years from now, he's going to be an adult. Yeah. And you never know how you do as a father until they become an adult and you see what happens, right? And so I just want them to know that, I'm there for them. And quite frankly, I love watching them play. People say, oh, one day I got to meet my favorite player of all time. And I saw something that said, well, I get to raise my favorite player, right? And so
that's awesome.
I love it.
Do you think, this is early, but do you think it's going to go beyond high school into college?
Yeah.
Virginia Tech?
I don't know about Virginia Tech. Okay. UVA, University of Virginia, is pretty good. We'll see. I don't think the Miami Hurricanes have a soccer team, but he knows if they did, it would be no question that's where he would go, because we're big Miami Hurricanes fans. But wherever he goes, he has he'll have his number one fan there.
Have you taken him to see an MLS game yet?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a bunch of them.
What about in Miami?
We haven't gone to Inter Miami. So we go to a lot of DC United games because we live in DC. So when Miami comes, we try to go see them, but Messi's never playing. Yeah. So we'll see. We might try to catch some World Cup games. His dream is to go to Spain, watch Real Madrid, Barcelona. So we might do that next year when he, I guess, graduates 8th grade and goes to high school. So.
That would be a trip. There was a Peruvian guy on DC United called Flores.
Yeah, I know Flores.
Yeah. He's a guy that from Peru, where I'm from. I've caught a couple of DC United games in DC as well. Yeah. So
they're not very good, but the games are hype.
Yeah,
they are. They're a good time.
So besides the stuff we've talked about, which is a lot, and I know you work a lot too, but is there other things that your family, you enjoy besides what we've talked about that you fill in when you're not working?
Yeah, I mean, there's limited time, right? Because you want to be present for your family, and that's a priority right now. But I do a lot of reading. I'm always trying to learn and get better. I listen to a lot of podcasts about things that can teach me more. I like to spend time with people who are super successful, like way more successful than me, a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, just to really pick their brain. And just for me, I want to learn how they think. It's not necessarily what they do, but like, how do you think? When you look at a situation, I look at it this way, but you look at it differently. You know, how did you get to that? That's why I like, picking Tom's brain too, right? Like you can see different perspectives, and that's just information that I can then use to make better decisions, right? And so I like learning. I like working out. I love hanging out with my wife. Like we're like best friends. We can laugh and talk about anything, and it's important also, right? That I invest in that relationship. The joke is tell your wife you love her before somebody else does. Yeah. Right. So, and then you want to spend time with your kids. You want to be present in their life. And so that pretty much takes up most of my time.
Yeah, I can imagine. And again, when I saw your social media, you pretty much, you can tell, you tell your wife you love her a lot. So
yeah, people ask me, why do you post so many like pictures of you and your wife? And I was like, I don't know, marriage is cool.
Yeah,
but
very good.
Who else am I going to post?
That's right. It was really good to see. And I love how you also framed yourself as a lifelong learner, because I think we all should continue to learn in every aspect, professionally, or like you're saying, relationships, how to be a better dad, which you learn from yours. And so if you were to talk to a young man or woman, who was, again, in high school, and they look at you and say, man, I can relate to Mike. I had the same upbringing or very similar. I would like to be as successful as he is. What advice would you give that young person?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would say, look, I don't have a college degree. You got to be careful. Here's what I would say. Be careful who you take advice from, right? If you want to be fit, don't take advice from somebody who's not fit. If you want to be rich, don't take advice from somebody who's broke, right? Because knowledge is one thing, but if you knew how to do it, you should have done it by now, or you would have done it by now, right? So like I say, I like to spend time around successful people, or people who are good in the area that I'm getting advice from. So I may talk to my doctor about medical advice, but I'm not going to talk to them about maybe financial advice, right? I'm going to talk to somebody who's in life where I want to be. So the number one thing I'd say to young people is be smart about who you take advice from, because everyone has an opinion. That doesn't make it right. And everyone may be confident in their opinion. That doesn't make it right. And then you got to be able to think for yourself. The other thing is, regardless of where you come from, you may have it harder than somebody else. You may have setbacks, but at least here in this country, you have the opportunity to become what you want to become. The beauty of our country is there's no ceiling. There's also no floor. Mm-hmm. So you can go as high as you want. You can also fall as low as you choose, right? Yeah. And, I'll give you a story. One of the guys who works for me now, one of our sales guys, he was a senior sales rep when I started in technology, and I was a junior sales rep. And he remembered going into my cubicle, and I'd have like my script and my objections and everything, because I'd be on the phone and I'd be like trying to balance everything. And on this side, I had pictures of my goals, and I had like a G-Wagon and a nice house and whatever. And he's like, today, man, you live what's in those pictures. And now I have new goals and I have bigger aspirations. But he was like, you had pictures and you were convinced, there was no doubt in your mind you were going to get to that lifestyle. And I said, yeah, man, there's something special about belief. And so if I had to talk to a young person, I'd say, what do you want to be? And can you get yourself to believe you can be there? And if you can and you stay with it, you'll win. I'm confident that if people stick with what they want to do, they will win. The problem is they get distracted along the way. They get bad advice along the way. They listen to the wrong people, and they get off course. They spend their whole life starting over. And so that would be my recommendation. And talk like you've already won.
That's great advice. One of my favorite shows that I like to watch when I have free time is Hot Ones. It's a guy who...
Is that the wing?
Yeah.
When they eat the wings?
Yeah. And so after you go through all that pain, he says, well, you've earned it. That camera, what you got going on, pitch your movie, your organization, whatever you do. We don't make you eat hot wings to do that.
I appreciate that.
But at the end, we do allow you to say, whether it's ITS or any organization you got going on, share with us so that people can plug in, watch it, attend, or whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, look, ITS, we are a technology service provider. I think we're leading in the small to medium sized business range. 25 employees to maybe 750, and we're leading when it comes. We do three things exceptionally well. This is how I'd put it. We have our core offering, which is our managed IT, where we're going to help you, whether it's you have internal IT and we're a part of your team, or you want us to fully manage it. Right? We can look at those options. We have Secure, which is our security offering to make sure you're taken care of. And then we have something called Verify, which is like your cyber insurance warranty. You know, it would suck to know that you're paying cyber insurance and you get breached and then the insurance company won't pay out because they're looking for areas of gross negligence where they don't have to pay you. And we cover that and guarantee your deductible up to $500,000. So we do those three things we do very well. And if you're a company who's looking to, you know, whether you have an IT company today and you just want to talk to us to see if you can benchmark that company on, are you actually getting what you should be getting for your money? Happy to do that. Or are you looking to progress your business using technology? Let's talk. Right? Whether you buy from us or not is your choice. But at least, like I say, I meet people and get their perspective. At least get the perspective and see what's available to you. People don't know what they want until they know it's available. Yep. So that's what I would say.
Well, we'll flash here on the screen the website for ITS. Do you remember the URL right now?
Yeah, itsasap.com.
Awesome. And then we'll put it here on the screen too, so our viewers on YouTube can go, and if there's anybody looking for IT services, they know where to find you. So
yeah, we'll take care of them.
Thank you for being on the podcast today, Mike.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah. Well, that's it for another episode of the WC Podcast. We hope to see you at a future one. Until then, stay safe. Okay, Mike, well, thanks for staying over to do our bonus segment called Against the Wall. Are you ready?
I'm nervous.
No, don't be nervous. The first one's called Your Favorites. I'm going to give you a category. You're going to give me your favorite thing in that category. Let's start with an easy one. What's your favorite food?
Steak, seafood, sushi.
Your favorite
man's meal.
Yeah, man's meal. Your favorite beverage with dinner?
Water.
The favorite car you've ever owned?
Tesla.
Favorite musical group or artist?
Oh, I don't know. No one.
Favorite movie?
The Godfather and Gladiator.
Favorite book?
What to say when you talk to yourself.
Favorite college sports team?
Oh, the University of Miami, no question.
Favorite professional sports team?
That's a good one. Probably the Nats, the Washington Nationals.
All right. You made it through the first segment. The second one is called Tough Choices. I'm going to give you two choices. Hopefully you can pick one.
Okay.
You ready? Daddy-daughter dance or dancing at the club?
Oh, daddy-daughter.
Smoked beef or grilled beef?
Smoked.
Seafood boiled or chilled seafood tower?
Boiled.
Vacation or staycation?
Ooh. Vacation.
When you go there, would you rather drive or fly there?
Oh, fly.
When you get there, hotel or Airbnb?
Hotel.
When you retire, Mike, one day, will it be on a ranch or in the city?
Of the two, a ranch.
If you could spend a day, would it be by the ocean or hiking in the mountains?
Ocean, no question.
If you were a superhero, would you rather have the ability to fly or breathe underwater?
Ooh, fly.
The ability to speak with animals or speak any foreign language?
Animals.
Here's where it gets tough. Actions or words?
Actions.
Justice or grace?
Justice.
Well, you made it through the second segment called Tough Choices. The final segment is called Finish the Sentence. I'm going to give you about 95% of the sentence. You're going to finish it for me. You ready?
Fun. Okay.
If Mike could visit any place in the world, it would be
Greece.
The best part about living in Virginia is
Me.
Mike's favorite thing about his job at ITS is
Everything.
If Mike could travel back in time, he would travel to
Oh, I don't know. That's a hard one.
I would have thought your high school games when your dad was up on that.
That's what I was thinking. It's like something in the past. I don't know. It'd probably maybe something family related, but I don't know.
What did you say earlier? He was always middle top?
Always at the top row, right in the middle.
Awesome. That's so awesome. 3 words that describe Mike are?
Confident, determined, successful.
Couldn't agree more. And doing the WC podcast here today with us was?
Amazing.
All right. Mike, thanks for staying over.
Thank you.